So the mainstream media drives me nuts. Let's see. There was also this is a great issue, and because I've been talking about sexism a lot this past week because it's been on my mind, and there's a couple things. I was listening to this thing about famous music composers, and the musician for NPR was talking about was listing a bunch of names, and I think it was for Father's Day, and he mentioned Schumann. Now I know the name Schumann. It's associated with piano concertos, and I've heard his music. But what I didn't know, um, and I consider myself pretty well educated, culturally astute, uh, and historically pretty pretty uh, pretty informed, that he had a wife who was also a very well known, admired music composer who was also a pianist who also composed really important piano concertos. And it pissed me off that I never even heard of this woman. I mean, in I think at the time she was just as famous as her husband was, and I didn't know about her. And it makes me wonder how many accomplished women do I in history have I not heard of that have been lost to me and to women in general. It would have made a huge difference to me growing up to see more women in politics, to see more women studied in literature. Um, I would have been more likely to have pursued some kind of degree with writing involved in it if I had seen women, uh, more successful women writers, journalists, etc. So, the only one I can remember from high school is Willa Cather. She's an American short story writer. I remember studying her. Other women, not so much. Could I name close to 50 men? Yes, absolutely. That pisses me off. I want to hear about stories about women in history. Oh, and that leads me to the next one. And I'm sure you probably saw this. If you haven't, you've really got to see this. I'll post some links when I'm done that you can go, look some of the stuff up. Or if you don't want to watch this vlog, you can go just read the short bulleted list. Okay, here's the deal. Michigan is proposing a law very similar to many of the other laws that have been proposed and passed in other states, where they're limiting the rights of women. They're scaling back tightening the window when a woman can have an abortion. They are imposing laws about waiting periods, of forcing the woman to listen to a spiel against an anti-abortion spiel given to them by their doctor. They are telling women that they must have an ultrasound. And since the majority of abortions occur within the first 20 weeks, actually the first 10 weeks, um, that means that this forced ultrasound will be transvaginal. And what that means, I don't know if you're aware of that, but that means they get to shove a wand, not that long, part metal, plastic and part metal, into a woman's vagina without their consent. Okay, so that's what we're talking about here. That kind of law makes a lot of women angry, and rightly so. If I haven't given you consent, you aren't shoving anything anywhere in my body unless you want me to castrate you in a very unsanitary way. And so these women, these legislators, protested in what I thought was a very professional way. One of them proposed a castration bill. Okay? And I think that I don't have a problem with that. I don't know. No, I don't know what she was saying they should be castrated for. But let's give you an equivalent. Let's do an equivalent. If we are saying women have the right to have a foreign object shoved in their body without their consent, as part of the regulation of abortion, which the whole reason they want to regulate abortion is because they believe it is morally wrong, which is based on a religious underpinning that life is sacred and life begins at conception. Okay, that's the baseline. Okay, well, it's not just the woman getting pregnant. I mean, the man contributed to the pregnancy, did he not? I mean, women aren't just, walking down the street and whoop, I'm pregnant. I mean, they had sex with a man. And in that case, he has contributed, obviously. That whole pregnancy exists because he engaged in an act. And sometimes that act is out of wedlock, which is also, according to that same religion, religious underpinning is immoral. He may have engaged in it out of his marriage. Could be his girlfriend, Again, immoral according to the same religious code. Shouldn't there be consequences for that? I mean, if we're going to say that life is sacred and this guy is spreading his seed in immoral ways, should there not be consequences for that? And castration, physical castration, maybe is a little permanent, but if it's okay for women to kill potential babies, then why is it not okay to castrate that man and his potential babies? Okay, you don't buy that? That's fine. It's extreme. Okay, let's say this. If a man is running around having sex outside of marriage, or he is married and he's cheating, and he's creating babies, then he needs to be punished, and they should give him pills that medically castrate him for a period of time. Because he's engaging in something immoral. He's creating life that he shouldn't be. And he's putting the woman in the situation where she has to potentially take that life. If you agree it's a life. I don't think it's a life, but we'll talk about that some other time. Okay. That's kind of equivalent to me. And I don't see a problem with proposing that bill. Because if we're going to propose bills about women's vaginas, I think we should propose bills about men's penises. Okay? I think that's fair. But they didn't like that. Her male colleagues really didn't like the whole castration bill. Talk about cutting off a man's willy, and he gets really freaked out. Just like women get freaked out when you talk about shoving things in her vagina without her consent. Silly girls. They're just so histrionic, aren't they? Well, this next legislature, and this really, oh my gosh, I had to turn off the TV. I was so mad. She obviously tells her legislature that she doesn't support this bill. It's wrong, professional. And then at the very end, she says something to the effect of, I'm really flattered that my male colleagues here are so interested in my vagina. However, I really don't want the attention, and I don't want anything. I don't want you to be so concerned with it and up in it that I can't stop you. And when a woman says no, it means no. And that's kind of the gist of what she said. She was obviously more succinct than I was. And she finds out later that night that she has been banned from speaking on the floor of her legislature. And the reason given was that she said vagina in a particular context. Now, let's start with the word vagina. If you are debating a bill that deals with the vagina, things to shove in the vagina, things to take out of the vagina, and will affect all women with active vaginas in their childbearing years. And, you could say there's a secondary effect for the mothers, the sisters, the daughters of these women who will go through this horrible violation. All women will be affected by this. So vagina, vagina, vagina. Vagina is all over that room. It's on paper. The men are spouting vagina. It's in the air. Vagina is in the air. Okay? And it's a medically proper term. A penis is a penis. A vagina is a vagina. If she had said dick, if she had said cunt, if she had said pussy, pardon me, I told you if you don't like cursing, don't listen to me. If she had said vajayjay, any of the slang terms that we use for vagina, I could have seen them saying, yeah, you stepped over a line. You stepped over a professional line. But she didn't. She used vagina, the proper term. Now, context. What context did she use it? Sarcasm. Okay, so now sarcasm is no longer allowed in state legislatures? Wow. Wow. Then you're going to have to pretty much ban a whole lot of people. You know? So, if anyone ever says penis with sarcasm, we're gonna have to ban them. But I guarantee you won't see a man banned from saying a medically correct term in a sarcastic fashion. It's not going to happen. But because she said the ooga booga, scary, scary vaginas, we're all scared of vaginas, woo, word in a sarcastic tone, they banned her. And that to me is insane. It's like we're living in Afghanistan under the Taliban. A woman cannot speak in her profession. We elected her to represent. Like the people of Michigan elected her to represent them and to speak on their behalf. And she said things on women's behalf that I'm sure they wanted said, and they would have said it in a much less nice way, but she still got banned. So now she can't say it in the only avenue that she has. So she does have another microphone, thank God, and that's how I found out about it. She was on the Rachel Maddow show with Ezra Klein was subbing for Rachel, and he interviewed her. And I'm glad. I'm glad we live in America where anybody, asshole or not, myself included, can talk in a microphone and reach people, you know? But in a legislature where she is in a job that her obligation, she has a moral and legal obligation to get up there and represent her constituents. And that's what she was doing. And she is banned from doing it because they didn't like the way that she said something. They didn't like sarcasm. Well, I'm sorry their little fifis were hurt, but she did nothing wrong. And you know what pisses me off even further? Her Democratic leader didn't stand up for her. The whole Democratic caucus should have walked out and said, fuck you, we're not coming back until she gets to speak. Because if she can't speak, then nobody can speak. This issue will not go forward without us. And if it does, then congratulations, we now have a one-party system. Are we really to the point where we no longer have a voice? Like, the only voice we have is some chick, some middle-aged fat chick like myself sitting on a couch bitching into a microphone in the internet that maybe 100 people will hear, maybe at most. You know, this is where we're at. I think that I'm getting to the point where I'm thinking, you know, Occupy Wall Street maybe doesn't have a bad idea. I don't necessarily like them or 100% support what they do. However, civil disobedience is quickly becoming the only avenue because nobody is representing our interest. And those who are trying to are being shut up. They're being banned. They're being silenced. And what can you do when all the avenues in the system have been shut down to you?